Okay, so we are live, and it is a Saturday. I'm hearing myself in my microphone for the first time ever. It's really bothering me. but we don't usually do lives on a Saturday. We usually do it on a Sunday. So if we don't get any viewers in 10, 15 minutes, we'll do one on Sunday, starting at around noon Central Time. So we'll give it a couple minutes. I see we've got a couple people on YouTube, but I don't know who. So tell us who you are. We are going live today to just talk about Sanditon, talk about season 3, talk about our favorite characters, talk about predictions coming up for season 3. I don't know a lot about season 3 just yet. I know as much as you do. I don't have any insider track or anything. But we'd like to hear what you guys think and where you think is coming on down the line. Talk about some of the actors' projects they have going on outside of Sanditon, that sort of thing. So let us know who you are and what's going on and what your thoughts are about season 2 and what you think is coming for season 3. I usually have a partner when I'm doing live, or I have people communicating with me. So it's a little different doing it on my own and then not having anyone to respond to in the chats or anything. I think we've been going through on our page, we've been doing a lot of character development episodes and some relationship dynamic episodes. I'm going to mess with my microphone here. I need it to not be in my ear so loud. I don't think any of that's helping. But we've been doing a lot of that. Our hope was to get some interviews for you, and that's still the hope. We're still trying to work on that. But so far, that's all we've done. We're going to be, I think we finished our character dynamics because we've gone through all the new characters, I believe. I have to make another list and check off who we've already done, who we have left. I think we have to do Miss Hankins yet. And I think that might be it. We've done all the other new characters. And when we've done the characters from season 1, we kind of group them together. Just because we've already done one, what we want to showcase is how they've changed and the things that are different about them in season 2. So we've done that. Now we're going to be moving on to more parallels and comparing the 2 seasons, comparing not necessarily characters, but just comparing the visual effects, the writing, the town, that sort of thing between season 1 and 2. We'll talk about some ironies and we'll talk about some parallels that we saw to, I mean, season 2 gave us a lot of parallels to Jane Austen works. And so that's something we're going to dive into coming up soon. We're also going to do some more fan fiction. So if you have some fan fiction that you want us to go over, to address on air, to read or critique or whatever, send us an email. And I'm the only one who has access to the emails. I just am so used to saying us and we. But send us that, and we'd like to read it and go over it on air. So that's what's coming up on our channel. Hopefully we'll have some interviews in there, and we're probably going to be doing some more lives near the end of those recordings because we want to know what you guys think is coming up for season 3. We are for sure going to do a live. Once we get the premiere date for season 3, we'll do a live the week before. so we can kind of hype it up and see what you guys think is coming. I'm gonna go check on something really quick. We've got only 3 viewers on our live on YouTube, and no one's talking to me. So if we don't get some more people on in the next 5 or 10 minutes, we'll jump off of this and we'll go again on Sunday, which is tomorrow. Hi, Stephanie. I'm sorry, I had to go check on something. You said, I hope you're well. Can't wait to know what the airing date is. Same girl. I cannot wait until we know when season 3 is coming out. Now, I'm assuming it's going to come out in March of 2023, kind of like how season 2 did. That's just my guess. Why not a little teaser? Maybe after the airing of the first episode of Miss Scarlet and the Duke. That would be great because we know they filmed it. So we know that there's plenty of material they could use to put together a little teaser. So that would be nice. When does the Scarlet and Duke, when does that air? I have like PBS is one of my favorite channels because I just think they have really good shows and they bring a lot of the British shows over, which I really enjoy. If I'm talking weird, I'm sorry. My own voice in my ear is a couple seconds behind and it's really throwing me off. So maybe I'm just going to take my headpiece out right now, or my earpiece, not my headpiece. But I think that well, I don't think I haven't been able to watch a lot of PBS, and I haven't, especially with like going through chemo and all that stuff. I've been relegated to things I watch upstairs on my TV, and we have an antenna in our living room, so that's where I watch PBS. But I haven't been able to do that like all year. So I would like to get back into that show. Miss Scarlet and the Duke is, I believe that's on PBS, isn't it? I've heard about that one, and that looks like a really good show. There's a lot of good shows on there that I want to catch up on, and I want to start watching. I'm hearing it now. The headphone is in my lap, and I'm hearing my voice from my lap now, which is really disorienting. So do you guys have any questions or any thoughts about season 3, or any questions about season 2, or thoughts about what we do, or things you'd like to see us do on our channel? If not, I think we might duck out here in a couple minutes. If not, because we there are 3 of us on, and nobody's talking. So we might, if I don't get some responses, I might just stop this and then do one at noon on Sunday. On Twitter, some fans are for the couple Edward and Miss Hankins. Poor Miss Hankins. Besides, there have been some funny videos about it. Stephanie in our YouTube chat said that. Yeah, I mean, maybe she can be a salvation. Although, if you guys watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, you will know that. Hi, Zizo on Podbean. You'll know that Edward is no longer redeemable in my eyes because he did my girl so wrong. And I don't think you come back from trying to poison Esther. We're talking about Edward in Sanditon. He once you poison Esther, I don't think you can come back from me. I actually thought going into season 2, I thought they were going to redeem his character, Jack Fox's character, Edward. I really thought they were going to redeem him. I thought there was a good possibility for it. There could have been so many avenues. I like what they did because it was interesting, but he's no longer redeemable. He was a lovable cad before, and now he's just a monster. So, although if you watched now, if you haven't seen any of our podcast episodes from when season 1 was the only one we had, go back and watch some of those character analysis, because I did go really, I think I spent an hour talking about Edward, and then I also spent an hour talking about Clara, and I think, and even Esther. It's not hard for me to talk an hour about Esther though, because I love her. Charlotte Spencer just did that so well. But I did go into depth about how he was always an abuser. But I think the trouble there is we didn't know where he came from. We don't know why he was the way he was. It doesn't make the abuse okay, but it would have been a little easier to redeem and forgive him had we known that maybe his past was also abusive, that he was abused in some way or something. But not getting that background, not knowing where he came from, and then seeing him continue to damage and destroy someone as amazing as Esther, you can't, I don't know how you can come back from it. But it was, I think Miss Hankins deserves only good things. So, but she might see it as her Christian duty to redeem him, especially if he is with Annie Reed. If he's with, I gotta stop calling them real names. If he's with Lady Denham, maybe Miss Hankins will see that she has a project in him. You know, it's a possibility. Do I think Edward will actually change? No, but I think he'll see a way to use her. If that even happens, I don't even know. Hi, Ryan, on our Podbean. If you do not know what we are about at TSC, because I know that when I publish lives on Podbean and on YouTube, it just goes live to everybody. We are talking the show Sanditon. So if you have anything to say about that, we are talking season 2 and what's coming up for season 3 right now. And fan fictions. Do you guys have any fan fictions you've read? Now, did you see anything about Edward and Miss Hankins in some fan fiction stuff that you thought was entertaining, Stephanie? Because that would be really interesting to see how that. And now I kind of have a seed in my head of a story I could create with that. Now I kind of want to run with it. But as I said, Miss Hankins deserves only good things. Only good things. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to our live. Fortunately, we don't have enough people on to keep going. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes, and if we can get some more people on, then I'll keep going. And the reason we made it set now, for those of you that watch our podcast, listen to our podcast, we typically publish our episodes on Sundays at 6 p.m. Central. And when we do a live, we try to do it at noon. And the reason we do it between noon and 2 is because we want people from England to be able to come on. A lot of times on our lives on Sundays, most of our audience has been from England. So we try to keep it so that everybody can come on. That's why we do it earlier than 6. However, I run another podcast, right? I help with another podcast. Ryan asks if I've ever watched the Dynasty series. No, I've never seen that. It was a show in the 80s, right? My grandmother used to watch it, and I would be at her house in the 80s when it was on, but I never actually watched it myself. But we record for my other podcasts on Sundays after I get out of church around 2. No, Ryan, I've never watched the new version. I've never watched either. The reason I brought the original was because that's the only one I knew. I knew there was a new one, but I have never seen any aspect of it at all. I just saw the bits and pieces from the old one. But we usually record around 2 Central Time for the other one, and for my other podcast, which is called Fandom Family Chats. And I thought I had that tomorrow, and I do, but I'm not on that one. So I could have done this tomorrow, and I'm sorry I messed it up for everybody. I didn't think about it until today. Also, we do it tomorrow. My partner in crime might be able to be on. The first episode of season 2 of Miss Scarlet and the Duke will be aired on Sunday, October 16th at 8 p.m. Is that on PBS, Stephanie? Right? That's PBS? Ryan, have you seen Sanditon? Just curious. I'm not sure if you are a fan of Sanditon. That's why you popped on, or you saw this live and thought you'd check it out. I believe Miss Scarlet and the Duke's on PBS. No, okay. Sanditon is a show that started on it was a England-based company. What did it start on? ITV, I think, is where it started on. And it's a Jane Austen novel. It was her final novel that she never finished before she died. She wrote 12 chapters of this story before she died. And Andrew Davies and Justin Young and a team of writers picked it up and decided, we're going to run with this. So they did 8 episodes the first season, and it ended on a cliffhanger because they were trying to save the show. It did not save the show. It still got canceled anyway, and it came over to the U.S. onto PBS. And all of us fans who watched it in BritBox, it is PBS and BritBox in England. But those of us fans who watched it were devastated by this ending because it was a horrible ending. It's not a Jane Austen ending, and we fought. The Sanditon Sisterhood is a group started on Twitter. I know the face of the person who started it, but I cannot remember the name of the person who started the Sanditon Sisterhood Twitter page. But they got a group of all the Sanditon fans, and they kind of rallied all the Sanditon fans together, and we fought for it, and we got a season 2 that aired. It aired in the U.S. Season 1 did in January 2020, and then we just got our second season this year. And season 3 has already been filmed, finished. We're just waiting for it to come out in March. So that's what we keep talking about. We are a crazy sisterhood of people who love Jane Austen and who love this show and are very attached to these characters. Kim, how are you doing today? I was just telling the others that we might be ducking out of here soon and do it on Sunday when more people can. What are you currently following? Ryan asks. In terms of what? Right now, we are just, this podcast that I do is called the Sanditon Chronicles. We talk exclusively Sanditon. We do talk about some of the other shows that the actors from this show are in, but we talk Sanditon on this show. It's the only thing we really talk about on this podcast. Quiet and still. I got a new message. Sanditon is spelled S-A-N as in night, D as in dog, I-T-O-N. Sanditon. Yes, Kim, it's always good to talk about our favorite show. I'm hoping that if I said I'd give it until 20 after or 20 minutes in, and if nobody else comes on, we might rejoin and do it tomorrow. But tomorrow, I think Janice might be able to watch it. Now, the thing that you may not know about Janice and I is we are football fans. And so we also she lives on the east or on the west coast, like right on the coast, and I'm Midwest. So we have a time difference. So on Sundays when we plan these lives, we tend to plan around our football games. So it depends on when my team is playing on Sunday. I might be able to do it at noon tomorrow. Let me actually look that up before I close it down and tell you guys all something. Okay, we've got 5 people on YouTube. So go Eagles. Oh, you're on the East Coast. Ooh, okay. I think I'll still like you, Kim. I'll still like you. I'm just looking at the schedule for tomorrow to see in case we have to jump off, just to see if I can tell you guys a time when we could be on tomorrow. My other podcast is we do have a recording, but I have someone else assigned to record it, so I don't have to be on that one. I can be with you guys instead and actually talk and do things. And good glad nothing works at all. Okay, it's at noon. Oh, it's at noon tomorrow, so I can't do noon. And I have church until I have church until 11:30. So I might come on for a little bit tomorrow. Maybe we'll start right at noon and I'll stay on for an hour tomorrow. And then we can talk if there's some more people coming on. So if you guys can talk to me on YouTube. All my people are on YouTube right now. We got 7 listeners on YouTube. And then we've got Ryan in our Podbean, which is great. I love having him on. But I need some feedback here to keep going. So what I thought we could talk about are, what are your guys' thoughts on season 2? Stephanie says, I watch very often the season 2 of Sanditon, but I only watched once the season 1. Really? Because I find it less in the style of Jane Austen. I even have difficulty to appreciate the character of Sydney. Oh, wow. That is not something I hear very often at all. Okay. See, now I didn't have cancer. Well, I did, but I didn't know that I had cancer when season 1 came out. So I watched it on repeat for about 4 months. I would get all through the series and start right over again and just keep going. But I have a problem, and I read through Pride and Prejudice once a year. But when I read through it, because it's my all-time favorite book, I will read the thing over and over and over again because it's my favorite Jane Austen piece. But I struggle to get out of that world. So I will start reading Pride and Prejudice fan fiction. I will read anything I can get my hands on, even if it's not Jane Austen. I will start reading that stuff, and I'll start watching all the Pride and Prejudice movies and all the Pride and Prejudice adaptations because I'm not ready to leave that world. And that happens more often. I mean, with Pride and Prejudice, it's just because it's a great book. But when I find that happens to me the most is when the story's not complete. So with season 1, that was my problem. It was not a finished story. There was no way it was finished. And so I couldn't get out of that world. I watched it over. That's actually how this podcast started, is because I couldn't stop and I needed another outlet. And I was so glad that I got some of those interviews with some of the cast and crew because I needed more. And so I watched season 1 over and over again. But with season 2, I was going through chemo when season 2 came out, and I was just so wrecked that I'm ashamed to say, please do not hate me for this, people. I've watched season 2 once, and I miss it. I genuinely miss it, but I've only watched it through once. And the other podcast that I have, we talk about, it's called Fandom Family Chats, because we talk about different fandoms for different shows. And some of the shows are current, like The Resident and 911 and the Chicago shows, all those things. So I have to watch those every week so I can be prepared for that podcast. And by the time I went through the things I had to watch, I was just so burnt out that I couldn't watch Sanditon again. So I've only seen season 2 once. Behind in the comments a little bit. Give me a second. But Sydney did take me a minute. At first, my first watch through, I was watching with a friend of mine who lives a couple hours from me. So we were texting back and forth, and I was like, she's with the wrong guy. She's going for the wrong guy. She needs to go for James. He's the right one. But by the end of the series, I'm like, nope. And if you go back and watch some of our podcast episodes, I do talk a lot about that James, he didn't match her passion. She was not in love with him. He was a great friend. And I would love to have a James Stringer as a friend in my life. But he didn't match her passion, and they didn't want the same thing. So I grew to love Sydney. Kim, you said, that's crazy. I watched season 1 like 20 times, if not more. Season 2, I don't know, at least 6 times so far. Okay, then I don't feel so bad. I don't feel so bad that that's what's happened here. Kim also said that's why you're trying to fix the ending and make it the way you want it to be when you keep repeating it over and over and it's not complete. Exactly. Yep. Because I actually, when it was canceled, because first of all, I would watch it the next, sometimes I was a little bit behind because I'm used to binge watching things. I hate waiting. I have a really big impatience problem. I was going to say patience problem, but it's really, I have a problem with impatience. So oftentimes I'll wait until something's finished so I can just watch it all at once and not have to wait. I couldn't do that with a show. Like I missed, like I said, I only have an antenna. So when I watched, I just happened, and I think that was the biggest problem with season one. There was like no marketing. And I just happened to be watching PBS Kids with my daughter just as it was translating from PBS Kids to regular PBS. And I saw a commercial for it, like a new Jane Austen, what? And so that's why I got excited about it. But by the time I had learned about it, it was already like three episodes in. And so I got to binge watch 3 episodes right away. And then I had to wait. But it just so happened that I missed episode 7 and episode 8. So I got to watch those back to back. And episode 8 ended. I was like, okay, next one. I need the preview for next week. And there wasn't one. And I was so devastated. I actually wrote my friend, like, this isn't the ending though, right? There's more than 8 episodes, right? There's more coming out, right? And then it's when she broke the news that no, it was canceled. Like, oh my gosh. I was so mad. So I actually started writing a fan fiction about how I thought it should go had it been extended. I haven't finished it because the reason is because I started reaching out to all these people to try to get interviewed. And I thought, well, it's canceled. What's the harm if we get interviewed? And I won't say who, but no one explicitly said season 2 is coming. But I was told things like, they are all done with this project. They are not going to be returning for the next installment. And then I heard things like, something, I can't remember exactly the wording, but they had mentioned that when it comes back on, so and so will be involved. And I was like, oh. But it wasn't explicit. So I kind of was given to believe that season 2 was happening. So that's when I stopped writing my fan fiction. But that's what I start doing, Kim, is if I'm so dissatisfied with the ending, I will rewrite it or I will finish it off in the way I think it should go. I did that with Divergent, actually. I hated her ending, so I wrote a different ending, and I don't ever read her ending anymore. I just read mine. That is the only fan fiction I've ever published and finished. But I have the outline for season 2 of what I think it should be. And Theo's agent was the one who said he was all done with Sanditon before it came out. So that was the other reason I stopped writing, is because I was given to believe there was a season 2 and that he was not returning. And so I didn't feel like I could finish what I wanted because I felt like I would be disappointed in the new season because I knew he wasn't returning. I knew that Sydney wouldn't be back, that Theo wouldn't be back, and I didn't want to be disappointed in what they created. So I stopped writing it. After it's all said and done, I'll probably write it. Maybe that's something we'll discuss on the show after season 3. Now, some people had said that there was, I have so many things under my desk. I keep kicking them. I'm sorry if you can hear that. But some people had said that they would like to see the other townspeople like do a spin-off of sorts, still be Sanditon, but there wouldn't be a need because Charlotte will have her happy ending wrapped up. Allison will have her happy ending wrapped up. There wouldn't be a need for, my husband is outside my door yelling. So I'm trying to talk louder so you guys don't hear the yelling. But that there wouldn't be a need for the main actors to commit 2 more seasons, but that you could do a show with all, I mean, I think that would be great. I think that would be such a fun idea because not only can you do the characters that we've grown to love, maybe Crystal Clark will stay on. I know that she's a main character. Sorry, I'm distracted by all the noise in my house. That's the other problem with doing it on a Saturday at this time. It's everybody's home. But I need to publish my version of the season 1 ending. I think I will do that, but I think I need to wait until I see how season 3 wraps up. Because again, I don't want to be disappointed in the ending that Charlotte gets because my happy ending involves Sydney. And I want to be happy for what her happy ending is. It clearly doesn't involve Sydney. But what I'm saying was that you could have the characters that are kind of background characters, have them continue to be a part of it. Kind of like how, what is that one? Chris Marshall and I think Tom Weston Jones was in it, or maybe Alexander. Oh my gosh, I need to find. I have all their things listed on my right in front of me, so I'm looking through that. Where is Chris's name? I didn't write it down. Death in Paradise. That's what I'm thinking. Death in Paradise. Like that show, it's centered in the city. You know, they're cycling through people. It's not always the same. You can have a couple of the same people, but in a town setting, there's availability for different characters to constantly be revolving in there, and then you could continue to write them out. I think that would be really fun and interesting to watch and to even be a part of writing. I would love to be a part of writing that. Man, I wish I had a job doing that because I would so love that. Stephanie said, maybe my opinion of Sydney has more to do with Theo's acting or the fact that I haven't really seen the beginning of Sydney's redemption. What? You don't think he was redeemed in season 1? The fact that he gets engaged to Eliza is not really in line with Jane Austen's male characters. It's not. However, they never intended to leave it there. So I don't think, I think if they would have continued right from the jump, I think Theo would have been involved, although he kind of likes these weird endings for his characters. So it's hard to say. But if he would have, they would have written that out. They would have altered it. And I was reading an article because again, when season 1 ended, I was devastated and obsessed. So I like read I haven't read as much about season 2 as I read about season 1, but I read that they found out it might be canceled. So they were Andrew Davies was trying to create a season ender that would sort of force them to renew. So that's why it was written that way. So that was never their intention to leave it that way. And it was never that. But I do think Sydney redeemed himself because even then he didn't engage himself to Eliza because he was disrespectful or because he didn't like Charlotte. He didn't know really about her connection to Susan. He couldn't really ask Susan for money. I think he could have asked Babington, but I don't know that Babington had that kind of money either. He was basically Sydney's status. Lady Susan would be the only one who would have that money. So he couldn't go to her because he didn't know her that well. And he really thought the only way out was Eliza. And I think that you can see that when in Babington's wedding, when he could barely even look at her. So, Kim, were you saying I need to publish the Sanditon fan fiction I was writing? But in my head, it would have been because I think it would have been tricky to change that storyline without damaging somebody. Because in that time, obviously, a woman you're engaged. It's a contractual agreement. That engagement is a contractual agreement. And if it breaks, somebody is going to be fallen away from society. And it's typically the woman is punished and demoralized for a broken engagement. And it's seen as a reflection on her at that time. And I don't think Sydney's the type of person to do that to somebody. Especially not someone who I don't think he loves her, but I think he would still feel an obligation to protect her. So I think he did it all for his family. Exactly. Yeah. The only reason he did it is because he didn't see another choice. He didn't see another way out. And I think when they're looking for Georgiana in London, he says all of her money will be his. He points that out. So that's exactly what he was looking back on when he proposed to Eliza. When that happened is that, all that money will be at my disposal and I will be able to use it as I see fit. And I think he likely made that clear to Eliza. And I think the reason I think that is because I love that on these lives. We always get talking about season 1. It's the one that I read the most. It's the one that I have lived the most in. It was 2 straight years of just Sanditon season 1 that I watched over and over and over and over again. Even my kids have seen it a couple times because when I'm watching it, there's no turning it off. And so if you want to watch TV, you're going to watch what I'm watching. But I think that when we see him at Babington's wedding, the way Eliza comes up and speaks to Charlotte, and Eliza's not stupid by any means. She obviously caught on to things. We see that in the regatta episode. She obviously saw the feelings there. We see it at the sand pit when Charlotte is there and she's asking Sydney about her. The reason she asked is because she saw a threat. She saw a threat because she saw interest on both sides. And then obviously when they're in the boat, she had to stop it before it went further. So she called out his name and she waits for him because she is afraid that she's going to lose him if she doesn't. She insults Charlotte for the same reason. So I think she's picked up on it. And I think that she knows that Sydney preferred Charlotte to her, especially since at the end of the regatta, he told her to go so he could stay. So Eliza knew exactly what she was doing and exactly what she was getting into. And we see that at Babington's wedding play out when he's talking to Charlotte and she comes up and is very clearly goading both Sydney and Charlotte. She's trying to harm Charlotte, and she's trying to goad Sydney. And to me, it seemed kind of like they had an agreement where she's like, well, fine. You want to marry me for my money? These are my stipulations, and you will basically be owned by me, and you will live by the standards that I set for you, is kind of what I got. And I know it's just one scene. I'm pulling a lot of that one scene, but Sydney's not a guy to be meek. And that whole conversation was off, and he was just clenching his jaw, and he was being quiet. He didn't respond to anything Eliza said. And then she said, basically, good day, come along, puppy. And like pulled him, So I think Eliza knew what she was getting into. So in my story, there would have been a redemption there, and it would have ended with her downfall partially. Because she's not the type of woman to be married without, emotional benefits for long. 70 said, what I don't like a lot about season 2's end is that it's Charlotte now who's engaged to a man she doesn't love. I agree completely. Maybe the writers will use what they had planned for Sydney and Eliza's breakup for, Charlotte and Ralph's. Yes, maybe. I think that's a good point. Now, I looked at IMDb. I know Susan is coming back for season 3. They only have her listed in one episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's all she's in, but that's all she's listed for is in episode 1 of season 3. So I thought she would be instrumental in separating Eliza and Sydney. And I think the fact that she's coming back is an indication of that as well, that she'll be instrumental in Charlotte and Ralph, because that's one. With Sydney and Eliza, I was certain of how it could be worked. But I also wasn't so concerned about Eliza because she's not nice. She's not a good person. Well, I don't know that you can say she's not a good person. She wanted what she wanted, and she didn't care who got hurt in the process. But Charlotte's not like that. And I don't think Ralph is either. And I think Charlotte's doing almost more of a disservice to Ralph than Sydney did to her, because Sydney did it because he had no other choice. Charlotte's doing it because she thinks, and I don't think it's just meanness or cruelty. I think it's, I don't love him. I don't have those kind of feelings for him. So it's safe to be married to him. And if I'm married to him, then I won't have that probability of falling in love with anybody else. But that's also a mistake, because just because you marry someone, if you marry them and you don't love them, and then you're surrounded by someone who you might fall in love with, that's scary. That's a really dicey situation that she's going to put herself in. So I wonder if you're right, Stephanie. I wonder if they will do the same method. I'd be interesting to see the script that they had in mind before Theo James said no for season 2. I would like to see that. I would pay money to read that. So, Justin Young, if you're listening, I will willingly pay you money for that. But I'm curious. Let me know. What do you guys think? How do you guys think that they'll break her up? Because obviously her and Colburn have to be endgame. Lennox is completely out of the picture. It's Colburn and her. They're not going to leave so help me, Justin Young, if you leave us with an ending that is Charlotte and Ralph, I think you are nice enough to not do that to us. I will be so mad. So the ending has to be Colburn and Charlotte. And I know Janice is not Colburn's greatest fan right now. You guys should give her crap about that. She is not. She knows that they'll be endgame, but she is not a Colburn fan yet. She feels she will be, but she's not there yet. I am, because I can understand where he came from. I think it was a really insightful episode. So what do you guys think? How do you guys think that they'll break them up? Do you guys have any ideas of how you think they'll break up Charlotte and Ralph? Stephanie, I really like your idea, though. I mean, it's just saying that they'll probably use the same methodology. They already have it. They already had the idea. They already had it written down. So, I mean, I think that would make sense. It would check out to do it that way. What do you guys think? Quiet group today. All right, so I think we're going to go a few more minutes. We'll go until we've been on here for 45 minutes, which is typically about the length of one of our podcast episodes. And then on Sunday, I will try to get home right after church, and then I'll go live at 11:45 Central Standard Time. And then we'll go for another 45 minutes talking about this stuff. And then I like you guys enough that I will sacrifice. What is that noise? Sorry if you guys heard that feedback. I don't know what that came from. But I'll sacrifice a half hour at the beginning of the Packer game for you. Stephanie says perhaps she agrees to marry Ralph because she thinks he will have no power over her, including the power to hurt her. Oh, I agree completely. I think she thinks he's safe. I think that he is a decent man. And what is happening? I think that. Can you guys hear me as well? Okay. I'm wondering if maybe is it coming out of this? I have a microphone on my headphone, and I don't know which one it's coming out of. I don't think it's coming out of this one because it's not like moving a lot. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. But I do think that. Can you guys still hear me? Tell me, just say yes if you can hear me, because I just unplugged my headphones. I think that was part of the problem. But I think that Ralph is a decent man. He's a good man, and that plays into it. I don't think Charlotte would hook herself to anybody who is not decent. But I think that on top of that, he would keep her where she's at, which is so sad. It's so sad because she's sacrificing so much to agree to that. And so, because he's a farmer in Willingdon, he's not leaving. That's where his livelihood is. He's going to stay there. She won't have any opportunity to go really anywhere else because she's going to be a farmer's wife. She's going to have the kids and she's going to do all that stuff if they follow through with it, which they won't. But I think he's safe. I think he can keep her in a place that's safe where she won't be at risk. She even said there's no one in Willingdon for her other than her family. I mean, there's no romantic interest in Willingdon for her, so she would be safe always. And I think that she could see herself living not in love with him, not devoted to him, but content because he's a nice man. But I think she undervalues what love is in a marriage. Kim says, I told you before how I think it's going to end, but you didn't like it. I think Ralph is going to pass away from something and then she's going to be free to go with someone else. Yeah, I hate when people die. I mean, I see that as sometimes that is the only solution. And this one, I'm not sure that there is. That might be the only avenue that they are able to take is that Ralph dies. Because of course, if there's a broken engagement in Willingdon and she leaves Willingdon, there's not a lot of harm there. There's not really a lot of men for her sisters. So if her sisters came to her in London or her in Sanditon, they would have more opportunity to find a spouse. So it wouldn't really harm them if a broken relationship happened there. So, I mean, that could be it. But death, other than that, I think death is the only other way to not hurt Ralph and to not hurt her, because I don't dislike Ralph, but I have zero feelings for Ralph. So I don't really want him hurt. I mean, emotionally, and I don't want his reputation tarnished. I feel like in Willingdon, it might be his reputation more than Scarlett's that would be tarnished if there was a broken engagement, because he would be staying there. Charlotte would not be staying there. And so she could escape the scrutiny, but he couldn't. So death might be the only option, which is kind of a bummer. All right, you guys have anything else you want to say? We got about 2 minutes left in the live. So do you guys have anything else that you would like to address or talk about? And again, we're going to go live tomorrow at about 11:45 Central Standard Time. And we'll go until 12:30 Central Standard Time. And we'll talk about the other, because I actually prepared for this today, and I wrote lists of things we want to talk about. So the breakup can come from the fact that Ralph and Charlotte realize that they have nothing in common, that they don't expect the same things in life. Stephanie started to say, I think it could, but I don't think Ralph is going to see it that way. I think Ralph sees a beautiful woman who could give him children, who could be a good wife, who understands the culture, who understands what it would take. And I don't think he's looking for more than that. I don't think Ralph is particularly concerned with love. I think he's concerned with appearance and the ability to do the job well. She says, Stephanie said, after all, the engagement is about getting to know each other better. That's not terribly what it was about then. I mean, it was for people who wanted to be engaged, but I don't think that's what Charlotte's going to use it for, because they both grew up together in Willingdon. They know quite a bit about each other. Of course, not intimately, but they know a fair amount about each other. And that was one of the reasons Charlotte didn't want to marry him. So I think it might be a little different in this case what the engagement is used for. Okay. So listen, we have 10 people on right now, and I'm sorry, this is the most we've had, and I'm about to jet off here. I'll give it another 15 minutes. We'll talk another 15 minutes. We'll make it a full hour. We'll round it out. And I'm kind of sad that I'm kind of sad that we aren't going to see not Charlotte, it's Charlotte Spencer. We're not going to see Esther and Babington play out because, I mean, they obviously got their happy ending. So that story's complete. It's finished. It's all done. I think even Clara's is done to a certain extent. We see that she's going to get out, but how? I mean, she's going to go to the place that Lady Denham set up for her. Maybe she'll meet a man and marry and live happily ever after. But I would kind of like to see how they live out. I don't think we're going to get that. I think Lily is all done. I know for sure Charlotte Spencer is done. But I'm fairly certain I read that Lily is not coming back either. I could be wrong there, though. I would like to see what do you guys think is going to happen with Arthur's character in season 3? What are your thoughts there? Because obviously he's in it. He's going to have more. Kim, you have no investment in Ruff right now either. Yeah. I mean, and they wrote it that way. That's why you know that they're not endgame, because they didn't invest any time into him other than to make a point to say, because they knew how season 3 was going to play out once we got they filmed them together. So they had both scripts written. They had it all planned out. They knew exactly how this was going to progress. So it's not like season 1 where it was uncertainty and they didn't know kind of thing. So they intentionally had Charlotte address earlier, I will never marry Ralph, and talk about how she will never be beholden to a man. And actually, that's what she's doing with Ralph. Because if you were a farmer's wife, and I don't think he was meanly possessive. I don't think he was rudely possessive of her, but he still kind of was when he approached the group to say, did Charlotte tell you our happy news? I think that being a farmer's wife in a small, small community with nobody else really there, I think that she is going to be under his control. He's going to be the ones to say yes or no. He's the breadwinner. It's his land that they're farming. It's his say so. So I think that she's only thinking of her heart and how to never feel a certain way again. And she's not thinking beyond that, I don't think. So they intentionally made it that way. They actually made it so that not only do we not really care about Ralph, but what we know for certain is we don't want her with Ralph, because Charlotte has addressed that in the beginning of season 2, that no, I will never marry him. And this is why I won't marry him. So not only did they make it so that we don't really like him, they made it so all we know about him is that he's not the right one for Charlotte. That's all we know. So I don't feel bad about it's nothing against the actors. Just that's how the character was written. 70 says, indeed, we only see him in the first and last episode for 2 to 3 minutes. Yep. And then we just hear him through Charlotte's and how she views him. Now, there was this picture that I have been talking about where it looks, I've said that we see Ralph going into a ball. I'm assuming it's Ralph. We only see him from the back, but just based off of the attire, and the woman next to him looks like Charlotte from the back, and it's hair down. So that would indicate to me a country dance, or someone from the country, or someone who's been in the country for a long time coming to someplace like Sanditon, because we don't know where that ball is either. Right? I think, Kim, that would be a great spinoff. So Justin Young, if you want to write that spinoff, man, hit me up. I will help you write it. Because clearly you need help writing things and you don't have any success at all on your own. But I'm assuming, based off the fact that it is long, dark hair that is not pinned up, and it's not up there, that it's Charlotte. And the only person I would see her walking into a ball with will be Ralph, because that is her fiance. So I have assumed it's Ralph this whole time. It could be Colburn's brother and maybe his wife. It could be the new cast members that are coming on that are, something for Lady Denham. Now, when you say love interest for Arthur, Kim, that's what you want to see for Arthur. Explain that a little more, because there's more than one way that could go, but I'm not sure they will explore one of those ways. Because Turlough had said about the sexual orientation of his character, or somebody had said that. There's an article I was reading where they defined that he is not, he's not interested in women. So I don't know that they will explore that in that way. I'm not sure that they will. And honestly, I don't want Arthur to be alone, but I think without a spouse, Arthur has more people that he can be around than anybody else. And I think he's so free being on his own. I think he's so free with the people he can surround himself with and the people he can be around with without speculation, without fear. And I think I kind of like him as he is right now. Stephanie, you said in a fanfic, Ralph falls in love with one of Charlotte's sisters. Oh, yeah, I did actually hear about some of those stories. And I think, and that's kind of what I think. I don't know if this is fair, but if you read Sense and Sensibility, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting with, remember Edward Ferris? His fiance fell in love with his younger brother, and then the engagement switched, so it didn't affect her, and it didn't affect, well, I mean, it sort of affected Edward a little bit, but there was no broken engagement per se. So it wouldn't be too far off to say that for them, because it would still be in the Jane Austen atmosphere of things happening. So, I mean, that's very possible. And that's kind of what I meant when I said it feels more like, it doesn't feel like love for Ralph. It's kind of like, I want her to be beautiful, and I want her to have birthing hips, and I want her to be able to do the job of a farmer's wife. And any of Mr. Haywood's daughters would be able to do that, because he's a farmer and they've helped him on the farm in their house of 5 million. They have all had to pick up aspects of running the farm or running the house, or, something like that. So any of Haywood's daughters would suit Ralph's purposes. They're all beautiful, and they would all know how to do the job. Stephanie says, I find that Arthur sometimes looks like Sydney in season 2, especially when he confronts Tom in episode 5. All the episodes have mixed together for me. I'm going to fully blame chemo brain there, because I watched it while I was under the effects of chemo. Remind me what scene you're talking about. Is it when he confronts him about the gambling or the debt? Stephanie? Is that the scene you're talking about? I feel like that's what it is. There's only like maybe 2 that I can, man, I really need to watch season 2 again. I feel like I failed you as a podcast host talking about season 2, and I've only seen it through once. I need to do research. I should be able to do all the research I want, right? If I call it that. It's when he learns that Tom has lost the game. Yeah, okay. I agree with you. I do think that I think they kind of cut his figure to be more like Sydney, especially since he's kind of stepping up as the brother to help Tom. So he's kind of replacing Sydney. And I really liked Arthur's character development was my favorite in season 2. I really enjoyed how they stretched him and how they grew him in the, what was it, 9 months between season 2 and season 3? 9 months for the show, not 9 months for us. It was 3 years for us, but 9 months in the show. I like what they did with this character in the interim. And I like that they poked fun at Diana being the hypochondriac. And that's kind of what I said in season, when we did our recap in season 1 or not recap, our character analysis of her in season 1, was that she was the one holding him back. I would love, there's so many things I want. I love backstory. I love these little pieces that we get of characters and of shows and of life events. I like the background stuff a lot. And after season 1, when you see how freaked out Sydney, not Theo, is about, I almost called him Rob, Jarvis, about old Stringer and his injury, I have a backstory in my head of what happened to their parents and why they are the way they are. And in my head, because I think their parents died tragically and died young, I think Diana had to step up and kind of be mama bear to Arthur. And that's why she hovered over him so much. And that's why she was so panicked about anything that would happen to him, because she watched her parents die from illness or from an unsuspected death yeah. And I think that's why. So I like when they pulled her away. You see glimpses of this kind of Arthur in season 1, when specifically in that was a really hard word to say. Specifically in episode 8, when he's dancing with Georgiana and he falls over and Diana says, "We need to leave." But Diana, I was having fun. So we get glimpses that he's not the one who's hypochondriac. It's always been Diana. And I like who he is outside of her shadow. Kim says, I want to see him with a real close friend that he can take adventures with. I think that would be nice. And I think I want Georgiana, part of me wants Georgiana to be married, but part of me wants Georgiana to remain independent. I would like to see her and Arthur stay close. I don't think either one of them really want more than that. Stephanie said, Arthur is my second favorite character, and I love his relationship with Georgiana. Agreed. Yeah, for sure. Stephanie says, I hope he gets his theater in season 3. 100% yes. And I'm a little surprised that Tom didn't go for it, because that's a moneymaker. What are the military going to do except for spend in stores? But a theater would bring in bigger crowds. It would bring in more people to see these famed actors and actresses on stage. And those people who come to the town who've never been before are going to spend money in the shops. It's a moneymaker. And so I really hope that he does that, that he sees that. And maybe what we're going to see is him realizing Arthur was right about the military, because I think we kind of see that at the end. I think it might be foreshadowed that the theater might be coming, especially in a town. I mean, you can continue. Bye, Kim. Thanks for coming on. Kim's got to go to work. But I think that they can continue to build in Sanditon, continue to create things in this town. So I think that'll be good. And I think that we're going to see them build that next season, because Arthur had showed his mettle with the military men and that he was right. And I think it's going to force Tom to trust him a little bit more in next season. I think it's going to force Tom to be a little more compassionate towards him. Maybe that's not the word I'm going for. It'll just help him to see the validity of things that Arthur wants. And honestly, that's what Sydney told him in season 1. He said, my friends need to be entertained. There is nothing for entertainment here. So Tom is just thinking, I need easy money. He's thinking short game right now. Arthur is thinking long game, and long game is what benefits you. So I agree with you, Stephanie. I think that the theater should be a necessary part. Okay, guys, we got about 4 more minutes, and then we're going to head out for the day. We will have been on for an hour and 4 minutes. And just so you know, this live video, obviously it'll be on our YouTube feed, because that's what happens when you do a live YouTube video. It shows up as part of your videos. But I will also be putting this in our Podbean. So it'll go off on all of our podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that stuff, iHeartRadio, or not radio, iHeart Podcasts, whatever. So we'll be on there as well. And so the one tomorrow, what I might do is splice the two together, or I might release them in 2-part. I'm not sure. It's because I know that an hour and 45 minutes gets hard to listen to. So I think I might make them 2 parts. So in the next, it's 3 minutes now. In the next 3 minutes, you guys have anything else you want to say before we head out? Remember, we are coming back tomorrow at 11:45 Central Standard Time. So you guys can come on and chat then too. We'll be talking a little more in depth about characters and projects and things like that. I'll give you guys a second to reply. I don't know if there's a lag. Because Kim was responding to some things just a bit behind when I was saying them. So I don't know if there's a lag on the live video feed, but. And remember too, if you guys wanted to talk to us, you can log into our Podbean link. Maybe I should put that in the description for our YouTube as well. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But if you guys wanted to actually talk on this, if you log into our Podbean, you can call in and you can actually have your voice, like physically talk to me rather than chatting. Some people don't like that though, and that's totally fine. But that's an option for you too. Okay. Well, I am not seeing anything else that you guys want to talk about. So I'm going to put my handy dandy list down here and remind you that if you join our Facebook group, the Sanditon Chronicles Sanditon Family Fan Club, we have some chats going on there. We have some groups going on there. I have officially finished all of my cancer treatments as of Wednesday. I am all done with cancer treatments. Stephanie, living in France, doesn't know if she can be live with me tomorrow. Okay. Well, if you can come on, you can come on. That would be great. Joy, hello. Some do that. Joy says, I'm not sure what you mean by some do that. Come on, maybe to chat on Podbean. But I'm all done with my cancer treatments. I finished my radiation. Radiation makes you tired beyond belief. And I did not. I mean, I was warned that by a friend of mine who went through half of what I've done. But I was asleep 90% of my days while I was going through 6 weeks of radiation. So I apologize for being almost absent in the Facebook group, but I'm ready to get back into it and start doing stuff. I'm going to start replying to emails, which by the way, I want to give you our email, the.sanditonchronicles@gmail.com. Amy says, I'm happy for you, Marie. Thank you. I'm happy too. I rang the bell and I cried. I cried quite a bit. It's been a really hard year. So it was 5 months of chemo and then an unexpected extra month for mastectomy recovery. I had to go in for 3 different surgeries for 1 mastectomy surgery because things kept going wrong. And it's been very hard. But thank you for that, Amy. So reach out to our email, go onto our Facebook group, join us there, join the conversation, start a conversation. If you don't see your post pop up, we have a team of people. Now it's under Family Fan Clubs is what it's under. And the reason it's under that is we condense some of our Netflix shows into one Netflix group. So if you guys watch Netflix, you should join Netflix Family Fan Club. It's all Netflix original shows are talked about there. But We now have 15 groups. So we have a team of, I think, 8 admins that are on all of our groups. Every post you make in our Facebook group, it has to go to be approved. We have to read it, make sure it's approved. And there's only 2 of us that have seen all of Sanditon season 1 and 2. So sometimes it falls on me to approve your post because they're not sure if I'm allowing it. So it might take a bit, but I will get to your post. One of us will get to your post and approve it. But start a conversation. We'd love to have talking there. You can also find us on Twitter at Sanditon the. And then on Instagram, we are the.sanditon.chronicles. Find us there. Chat us up there. Those are the only socials we have right now. Just Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then our email. So join all those things. Talk to us. We want to hear what you want to hear. If you ever want to join us for a podcast and you want to record with Janice and I, we'd love to talk with you on our podcast. Well, we do all of our podcasts via Zoom. So we can send you a link. You can have your own, be at home if you're in Australia, if you're in London, if you're in France, wherever you are. You can come on and join us. We'll try to work around the time for you. I know it's kind of is France. Stephanie, is France 8 hours ahead? Is that what you are? England, I think England is 6 or 7 hours ahead. I don't remember what the time change, but it's 6 or 7 hours ahead. Because I know that when I went to interview Rob Jarvis, he gave me a time and I thought, oh boy, that's 4 a.m. I'll make it work. And then he responded back. He's like, I didn't realize how early that was for you. Let's do it later. So I think they're 6 hours ahead. So if you want to do that, we'll try to work our schedule around yours and try to get you on there. We could even do on the middle of the night for us. It's in the middle of the really early morning for you. But anyway, if you want to do that, let us know. Let us know what kind of things you want us to see on our podcast. And also, season 3 is coming up. But after that, there's not a projected future for Sanditon. So let us know what else you want us to talk about because we like our community that we built here. And we want to keep talking to you guys. Stephanie said your favorite adaptation of Pride and Prejudice is the one from 1995 with Colin Firth and Jennifer L. It's the one that made me want to read J.A.'s books, and I try to see the different adaptations of her works. That's not my favorite one. And the only reason is it's very true to the book. However, I think I don't see there's things I like and don't like about it. I like that it's so true to the book. I love that. However, and I read the books first, so I'm partial. The 2004 version with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden, there's more passion in there. And I think they played Darcy better because I feel like Darcy he's not arrogant. I view him as shy, is an extreme introvert, very shy and weary of manipulations from women and their mothers. So I think Darcy was played better in that one. And I think Elizabeth Bennet had more passion in that one. However, I don't think they looked the part well. I don't think women back then were that thin. But there's things I like and love about both of them. I prefer the Matthew McFadden's version of Mr. Darcy. All right. So it has been an hour and 2 minutes, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go live again tomorrow at 11:45 Central Standard Time, and we will be done by 12. I have to be done at 12:30 Central Standard Time. I'm giving up the first half hour of the Packer game for you guys. So I've got to be done at 12:30, but I want to hear from more of you. Stay tuned for that. Join the conversation, and we'll be seeing you real soon. Bye, guys.